Hey guys, if you like my show, you're going to love the official Lakers podcast on Podcast One. Join host Mike Trudell and co-host Aaron Larsoul every Monday night as they discuss the Lakers news of the day, break down the games from the week, and have exclusive interviews from players, coaches, and staff. So don't miss the official Lakers podcast every week on Apple Podcasts and Podcast One.
Now Podcast One brings you Spike's Car Radio, a downloadable cars and coffee, hosted by writer, comedian, and automotive enthusiast, Spike Ferriston. Now, here's Spike.
Hi, welcome to Spike's Car Radio. I'm calling from behind the fireline. Zuckerman, are you there? Can you hear me?
I am here for another episode of Spike's Car Radio. I am manning the desk. I am in the studio all by myself. I've got the switches and buttons. I'm in full control. You, my friend, are now my guest, and now I can talk over you. Did you say something? What? Hello?
Oh, please. You're burying the lead. Before we get to that, in a minute, we're going to play our interview. We interviewed Paul Teutul Sr. from Orange County Choppers.
Great guy.
He was great, and we're going to play that interview in a little bit. But before that, here we are.
Again.
Zuckerman. I'm in my house in Brentwood behind the fire lines. Everyone was evacuated, and I decided to stay. I'm excited to talk to you about this because you had that horrible tragedy in Malibu, and
yes.
I learned so much about what to do and what not to do from what was going on with you. When this thing swept in a couple days ago, it was like 3 a.m, right? And did this happen with you? My iPhone went off in the middle of the night at 3 a.m. like a siren. Woke me up, a sound I had never heard coming out of my phone before.
We had that, but it was not in the middle of the night. We had it in the morning, and as you know, we followed the instructions, and you were much smarter.
Well, I did follow the instructions. Now, I need to clarify, but again, this is what happened to me and what I did, and I'm not advocating that anybody else do this, but I think the audience will enjoy some of my decision-making that went on in this situation. So you get the alert. It says prepare to evacuate. So I went outside. I've never had this happen to me in 20 years living in L.A., but I walked out, I looked up the street, and I posted this picture on Instagram, and there was fire in the sky. I could see it right over Stacy Schulman's house. I could see the flames licking, and I went, wow, this seems to be a pretty big problem. Went back inside, woke my wife up, and I said, look, we just got this alert. Let's start packing up. And we did, again, this is, and I learned from you on this. I took the pictures that we cared about. My wife said, I want to take some of the wedding pictures, and I thought that's really sweet. And then I looked at them, and it was just pictures of her, which I thought was odd. You get some cash. I went and I got the watches,
yes.
Right? I got some of the watches. And then we woke the kids up and said, get your iPads and everything else. And we got our bags together and the whole deal. And my son said, did you bring all your watches? What about the other, the slop bucket of watches? And I said, oh, that's true. So I got my slop bucket watches. And we loaded up Eric in the BMW. While we're doing this, they said, you got to get out. Now it's time to evacuate. And that was about 3:30. So I said, why don't you guys go down to my office at Santa Monica Airport, and I'll meet you there. Because I've got Aston Martin's car here. I've got their DBS Superleggero.
That would be funny. I wonder how that thing burns.
What's that?
Do you think carbon fiber burns well?
It's like 3:30 in the morning. My head's not even. Nobody's heads are working right, and we're in this strange situation. And the kids are all excited because look, there's the fire. Anyway, I go to unplug Erica's BMW, and I notice it didn't charge. And now an equal amount of anxiety takes over and sort of sidelines the fire. And I start going, well, I just replaced this charger. Why didn't that charge last night? And now I start going, and I'm talking to myself, I go, Spike, this is not the time to try to fix Erica's BMW and the charger. And so I'm trying to get that out of my head. I get them in the car. I said, look, you guys take off on this. Go ahead, get the dog. I get them down the street. They get out of the fire zone and are off to Santa Monica. And now I'm in the house by myself going, what do I take? Is the proper car for a fire evacuation? Is it the Aston Martin? Should I get on that motorcycle? I've got the old Land Rover, my old friend, sitting outside in the driveway.
Wow, 3 ways to approach danger. I love that.
But, as a car guy, you're just not thinking. And then I started thinking about the Charger. And so I decided to go look out and reboot the Charger to see if I can get the right lights on it. I'm a complete idiot left here by myself, okay? Anytime of all this stupidity of trying to decide which cars and everything else, I look up the street, there's no more flames licking at our neighborhood anymore. And the fire trucks and the helicopters, it's quiet, right? And the smoke has started to stop. This is about an hour in. So I'm like, well, maybe this thing has passed, right? And I sit tight. I sit tight in the house. Erica calls, when are you coming back? She goes, I don't know, but I'm gonna hang out here. And, I remember when your house caught fire, you said some of your neighbors were around and they were extinguishing houses. Unfortunately, it wasn't yours, but they were kind of helping out because they stayed back. And I thought, I've got a straight shot right down my street to Sunset. I'm not in the middle of the woods, so why don't I hang out here and, get some work done and help out, right?
Mm-hmm.
Well, I ended up going back to bed. Just taking a long nap.
Awesome.
Yeah, I'm lucky to be alive, Zuckerman. In the meantime, the fire has retreats up into the hills. There were some houses hit and up high above us, maybe a mile away.
Wow.
And around 10 o'clock, my wife is like, what are you doing? And I said, I'm going to get some work done. I got a deadline. And she goes, well, as long as you're here, you're up there. Everybody, we were here with another family. So, people want to know about their houses. So I start zipping around the neighborhood in various vehicles, checking on houses to see if they've burned, which they haven't, and providing relief. Except, I'm also dodging police officers who are wondering why I'm still in the neighborhood, Zuckerman. And, I'm doing it on a 66 Triumph Bonneville, which is even crazier because as I get up to Tiger Tail, where there's this big fire going on or was going on, I'm surrounded by, unexpectedly, lots of police and lots of firefighters and everybody else. And they're chill and they're just relaxed. And there's a lot of reporters there and stuff. And then a security comes after me, one of our little yellow security cars, one of the rent-a-cops, and goes, hey! Blast the siren, shines a light on it, right? It's the daytime. I was just I was just going to try to get a little iPhone picture of one of our friends' homes to show them it was still standing because they were, understandably very upset. And he goes, what are you doing? He goes, I go, what? They go, show me some ID. Okay. Well, now I conjured up my instant Zuckerman.
The first looter is shot.
Yeah. Now this is the little yellow security guard company.
Yes.
The guys who patrol my neighborhood, one of which is frequently drunk. I can smell the booze on his breath. He's got a 45 and he drinks at 7 in the morning. The other guy is the guy who locked himself out of a car for 2 hours.
And you helped him. Right?
I opened it up with a coat hanger.
And didn't he say, wasn't his comment, you sure know a lot about cars?
Yeah. Well, he said, you're never going to get it. I've been trying this. And I'm going, who is he? He looked like a department store Santa Claus. I'm like, I can't have these guys showing up with guns, Drunko and Santa Claus. Yeah, and I opened his car, and that's what he said. You know a lot about guns. I'm like, dude, you should not have a 45 on your belt. You should not. And so this is the first police act. He grabs me. He goes, show me your ID. And I have the Zuckerman courage. I know now the limitations of the law. And I go, I'm not showing you anything. He goes, well, you might be a looter. A looter, Zuckerman.
Yes,
says,
an aging, geriatric looter.
On a Sondor's electric bicycle. With sunglasses.
I'm looting diapers.
I'm looting diapers, right. I've got a work reunion hat, jeans, and a nice pair of sneaks, and I'm a looter. And I said, I'm not a looter. He goes, you got to show me your ID. And I go, I don't have to do anything. He goes, well, those guys up there are going to ask for your ID. And I look up, and it's just a bunch of firemen eating sandwiches and some sleeping. You know, these guys have had a rough night. I'm like, what? And he goes, you know, we got looters. And I said, buddy, look, you really want to help? I got to look at two houses up here. I've got two families that are very upset. No one will give them any. Why don't you come with me so we can just look at their house and don't try to shoot me? He didn't even. He just goes, well, someone's going to think you're a looter, and then he just takes off.
It's a crisis.
It's madness.
It's a crisis. Crisis
Meanwhile,
adrenaline. Idiots faced with crisis.
Idiots faced with crisis, right? And these security guys in the neighborhood, we've got one great company that works that we've moved, and then we've got these crazy idiot guys.
You're lucky you didn't ventilate your head.
Yeah, these guys have had the job of blocking the street to make sure parents at the school don't speed up the street.
And they can't do that, right?
Parents doing 90. Yeah, and they're like, one of the guys literally said to me, he goes, I can't do anything, Spike. I'm not as important as these people are.
Oh,
and
God.
I said, what? He goes, I'm no one compared to me. Almost, that was the drunk guy in a drunken... It was one of the weirdest things in the world. And I just, I looked at him. I said, dude, you got a gun? You got a badge? Anyway, didn't matter. Anyway, I'm still here, Zuckerman. I'm still here.
But you can't leave. You're stuck up there.
And things have intensified down the end of the street.
In what way?
Right now, it's a sunny, beautiful day. Well, the LAPD now has blocked off the end of the street down there, so they're not. It's like Malibu. Once you leave, you can't get back in. There's no smoke in the air up here. It's beautiful. There's no firemen or equipment or anything going on. I'm not in the way of anybody. It sounds like to me the report I just heard was it's going to be very windy again, and they just, rather than let everybody high up into the hills back in, have to get them out again. They just rather keep them out for one more day. But I'm in an interesting car predicament, Zuckerman. I've got the Aston Martin DBS Superleggero.
I have a great idea. I have a really good idea.
And they're supposed to pick it up and drop a Volvo off.
I have a better idea. Let's tell them it burned up. Let's just keep it. We just keep it and just tell them it burned up. There's nothing left.
It's such, you know what? I really warmed up to this car, Zuckerman.
Really? Over the weekend, you were questioning its ability, the livability of that car.
And then the muscle car, the refined British exterior with the muscle car drivetrain really got me at one point. I went, I can't believe I'm wrestling with this. This car is so much fun. It's just a fun, crazy car that should be celebrated. Do you know what I mean?
Right, because it has no reason to exist.
It has no reason to exist. Exactly. And it took me 6 days of driving to understand that. Right. But then when I got it, and I kept going back to James Bond, going, what is the James? You gotta not just remember the James Bond showing up to the event to kill the guy moment. You've got to remember the James Bond and the Mission Impossible chase scenes that he does in these cars. Right. And then you get it. You go, the back end, this thing was spinning wheels at 60 miles an hour, and I got on it too hard, and the wheels spun, and I went, wow. Awesome. And then you show up somewhere in it, and everybody's like, wow. And then you go, wow, I get it. I understand this car.
Over-the-top retardation. I can use that word in this context, right?
Yes, you can.
Yes.
Yeah. I don't think we're at the level of that scrutiny yet.
Yes. I think
we're okay.
Yeah, I think that there's a place in the world for cars that have no reason to exist, that are so crazy, so over the top, as you say, that it's just It's just about the joy of it being so insane, impractical, unusable, fast, reckless.
Right. That's kind of like your old GT2,
right?
Your Adriatic Blue one.
Yeah, it's not going to. They're not, and there's going to be a time these things don't exist anymore.
Right. Do
you remember that period of time in the 80s when we used to look back at muscle cars and say, "Wow, those things had no reason to exist, and they're never going to make things like that again." We missed out. There really was a time, if you felt in the 80s, that you missed out on music and on cars, and here we are again in another, at least a high period in cars and performance that will disappear.
Yeah, and it comes out of Aston Martin, which is really interesting to me. And they fixed a lot of, the last versions of these cars, the light switches, you'd push them down and the window would go up. There was a lot of backwards tech in it. We're British. We drive on the other side of the road, so everything works in the other way. And there's still some of that there. When
no
you
Apple iPlay, right?
Well, when you reach to adjust the seat, usually our hands go down to the left, right? Well, here they're on the right.
Oh,
that you adjust to pretty quickly. On the steering wheel, there's you can do a lot of stuff, but there's a roller on the left side of the steering wheel that turns the volume up on the radio. On the right side, there's another roller, and you roll it forward or up, thinking you'll push the music forward a song, but it actually goes backwards up. So that's a little counterintuitive and odd there. It doesn't have Apple CarPlay, which, is an actual, the car's wonderful, but they need to put Apple CarPlay. And here's why. And I told you and Jerry this car is like trying to ride a frightened golf course alligator, right? Slinking back into the water, right? You know that look, that feeling?
Right.
When you're driving it, it's like you're on the back of that crazy wiggling reptile as it's trying to get back in the water fast. And that means it commands a lot of your attention, which means you don't want to be in what I'm doing now, which is I'm looking at my phone in the deep bucket of the passenger seat, which if you imagine my head is turning very right. Mm-hmm. I really need that screen to be up to date in all cars. I don't know that anybody in the world doesn't want that Apple CarPlay or the Android interface, because it really keeps our eyes on the road. It keeps our heads up. And I find it keeps my hands off the phone when I'm driving it, which is important. So that's, that would be the big thing I would add to this car. And it's fantastic. Now, last night, Zuckerman, you texted me a picture of a 992.
Whoa.
Is that your car?
That is my car. With quiet
speed. You've got a 992?
With quiet speed, Ferriston. That's what they call it, quiet speed.
You have not had one of these car surprises in a long time.
That's right.
You just suddenly announce it.
And that's what I did. I just sent you a picture of the rear end. You and Jerry, quiet speed. That's my nickname. Quiet speed. It's really.
And all right, come on.
And
what are your thoughts?
Okay, it's absolutely fantastic. I can give you the details that I think bug me. There are details that are fantastic, but I will tell you that as a driver, just the drive is phenomenal. Absolutely phenomenal drive. This is a Carrera S, which we know is a turbo. This car has serious scoot, Ferriston. It's at least the specs that you would see online say 0 to 60 in 3.5 seconds. I'm going to tell you it feels lower than that, 3.3. It's almost as fast as a GT2 RS. And with the big fat tires, it's wider. I think they stretched out the width and a little bit of they made it bigger, but it eats up the road so smoothly and so competently. I have not had enough wheel time on it, but from what little I've had.
Well, wait, was it delivered? Was it delivered to the office yesterday?
Yesterday.
So where was your first drive?
up to my house. So we're around the block in Beverly Hills. I did get a little. I got a little time on Sunset last night, and it is ferocious, and it handles. There is no question.
Wow.
It is.
You have a PDK in it, right?
I do.
Wow. And what's the color?
Aventurine green. We'll just call that turpentine. Yes.
Not the old. Is that an old 993 color?
That's the color of Jerry's first 993, which he has since sold. He told me, but yes, it's a 993 color. I don't know if I'm saying it right. Aventurine. It's a gray green. It really suits this car.
And how did this car come about? Were you seeking one out? Where did it come from?
Okay, you recall a couple of weeks ago, I saw a 992 in the parking lot of Chiccone's, and I sent you a picture. And I commented that I liked the front end of that car, and it got me thinking that I kind of liked it. I don't like the rear view. I don't like the rear grille. But most of the car is visually a hit. And I just said,
yeah, they get those crinkles in the hood.
993 early crinkles.
Like a ruffled potato chip.
And you know what the last two words I say before making any important or costly decision? You know what those two words are?
Fuck it.
Fuck it.
Fuck it.
Fuck it. So I just said fuck it, And so I called up our friend Dean.
Happens after that.
Yeah, I called up our friend Dean, and I said, I want one of those green cars. Yeah, he said, Aventury Green. I said, yeah, that's it. That's it, dummy. And Dean said there's like none on the ground yet, and they're all accounted for. And I said, well, I know you. You're clever. You're a clever hunter. Go find me one. And so he worked his magic, and he said there's a new shipment coming in, and there's a car on there, and we put your name on it. And sure enough, he had it. I could have had it on Friday, but it wouldn't have been factory. It wouldn't have been dealership. It wouldn't have gone through the dealer rigmarole. So I said I can wait a few days. Now that I've got what I want immediately.
Any Zorzi details on it? Did you leave any wrapping on it?
There's a little wrapping on. There's a little thing on the dash which I haven't figured out what it is. It's like a little sticker that goes over what could be a microphone or a camera. I don't know. I think there is something that's watching you inside the car, but I couldn't say for sure. There's a lot of technology in this car. You will love the technology in this car. I am completely intimidated. Dean started to explain the tech to me, and I said, just make the screen show a radio. That's all I want. And then leave me alone.
Wow.
Here's something you need to know.
Who is Plan Z on this car? Anybody?
Nobody.
Yet?
It's just Z.
Wow.
Solo Z. Solo Z.
I love it.
You're welcome to be in on it if you want.
I want to see it. And I want to hear more about this drive. You know, it's funny because you're saying the same thing that Pete Stout said. You're saying the same thing that Matt Farah said, that this really is a driver's car.
It is.
Like, forget about what we don't like about the way it looks. It's thrilling to drive, and that's exciting. That gets me really excited.
Yeah, and to echo what one of those guys said, we may have really reached the limits. Like, people can't run much faster than the 4-minute mile. Things can't be that much faster than this car. I can't imagine how much faster a turbo will be than this Carrera S. I can't even imagine what a Turbo S would be like. We're now talking Bugatti levels of speed they must be getting to. 0 to 60 in 2.1 seconds with your face permanently changing shape.
Right. Yeah, your brain smashing against the back of your
axonal shearing.
How do they have that? How is the turbo calibrated in the 992? Does it feel like a turbo?
It's remarkable that it's almost imperceptible. If you stuck somebody in a car that was not a real aficionado, that didn't really know these cars, and told them it was normally aspirated, they would believe you. They would have no way of knowing this is a turbo.
Wow.
They really have cured it. They've solved
a real winner.
Yeah, Fermat's last theorem has been solved. There's no turbo leg.
Wow.
Yes,
well, the word turbo doesn't mean anything anymore. That just means car.
It just means car. It's just a car.
Yeah.
High end. Turbo means high end. It's synonymous with luxury and money.
Well, congratulations.
Thank you.
That's a huge gift to yourself after a hard year of work. You deserve it.
Thank you.
It's lovely.
Thank you.
Can't wait to see it. Maybe if I don't burn up tonight, like a piece of bacon and a pine tree, I will come see it.
I will. If something happens to you, I will make it my mission to teach the children how to behave like animals, how to curse very well, like sailors.
Just lean into my coffin and say, "You suck," right before that.
I always
closes.
knew you were a loser. You're a piece of shit. And you smell bad.
And you smell bad. But hopefully we'll be having dinner
Wednesday
tonight.
night.
The show is airing tomorrow. Yeah, it's airing tomorrow. So
yeah. Okay.
Tonight, if I get out. But thank you for coming in.
If you don't, it's been a pleasure.
Phone. I'm going to, in a minute, when we come back from commercial, we're going to play our interview with Paul Teutul Sr. from Orange County Choppers, who has a new podcast he wants to tell us about called Behind the Scenes at Orange County Choppers. We'll be right back with Spike Car Radio.
Goodbye.
Hey there. It's time to talk about one of my favorite websites, Crown and Caliber. Crown and Caliber sells watches. They don't just sell watches. This is one of those sites you can spend like 2 or 3 hours on looking for that perfect watch for you. They've got Rolex, Breitling, Omega, Tag Heuer, Patek Philippe, 3,000 plus watches, you guys, from 40 luxury brands, and it's really a truly risk-free experience. I get a watch from them, as you guys know, every month. I can't wait for that box to come. I can't wait for the unboxing when I open it up. They take such care with these watches. They love watches. They love to buy. They love to sell. I've known these guys for a long time. I've known them since their very humble beginnings, and they have grown into such a wonderful company. Right now, by the way, you don't take my word for it, they're giving away a Speedmaster. Every man and woman should have one Speedmaster, and they're having a Speedmaster giveaway. It's an Omega Speedmaster Professional Moonwatch, and you can enter on their website, crownandcaliber.com/spike. I think you don't even have to put the spike in. Just go to crownandcaliber.com, and you can enter. The sweepstakes ends on November 17th. Come on, baby. Everybody needs an Omega Speedmaster. Say you don't want that Omega. You can just want a regular watch and you want some money off. Use Radio 150. That's my special code I'm giving to you guys. Radio 150. You will get $150 off any purchase of $2,000 or more. All right. There you go, folks. Crown and Caliber. Check them out.
You're listening to Spike's Car Radio.
All right, Zuckerman. Are you on the mic?
I'm on the mic, and congratulations.
Yeah. Paul Tuttle's on the phone. Do we have him? We don't have him on the phone yet. He's going to call us in. Orange County Choppers. So did you watch Discovery Channel's American Chopper when it was on?
Everybody did. It was ubiquitous. It was on all the time, and it was interesting.
It was fun, right? I remember it was one of the first kind of build shows that I ever kind of got into, was like these wild choppers. And I was like, where do these people get this money? And how do they make these bikes so quickly?
And why are these guys so angry? And why are the father and son so angry at each other?
They might have been the first show where you actually bought that they were actually fighting for real.
Yes.
I've since learned they probably weren't. But maybe we'll ask them all of these.
I thought that your friend, Mr. Muth, said that they were.
Oh, maybe. Mr. Muth?
Muth.
Did he do that show?
Yes, I thought he was the showrunner on that show.
I should have called him before this interview.
And he talked about how, if you were listening, that there were moments
Obviously, I wasn't.
That there were moments where there were real tears, and he put that on TV. That was something, maybe like the first time something like that had happened, and it just brought the audience in. The real pathos. The hurt feelings.
Wow. Well, now we have something to talk about.
Yes. I don't think they're talking, the father and son.
They don't live nearby, right? They're not going to come beat us up or something.
He's going to take his mustache.
Wait, it's Orange County. Orange County Choppers?
Yeah, but I think they're Orange County in a different Orange County.
Oh, okay.
They're Orange County back east. There's another Orange County, more than one.
This isn't that Republican California stronghold?
Emoluments. Phony emoluments.
All right. Hello, sir.
Hey, how you doing today?
This is Paul Tuttle, Sr.
Paul Teutul Sr.
How are you, sir?
Only.
Very nice to meet you.
Good.
You've
Nice
got
to meet you too.
You've got Spike Ferriston here and the real Zuckerman, who's a lawyer. I'm going to warn you ahead of time.
I won't pluck you. Don't worry.
And I understand you have a new podcast you're talking about. Your podcast here at Podcast One, correct?
Yeah, we have a new podcast, yes.
Wow. All right. Well, we're going to get into that. I want to get into, we were just discussing your show, your Discovery Channel show, American Chopper, and whether or not the tears were real on the show. What is your comment?
Are you asking me the question?
I'm asking you a question. Were the tears real? Was the crying real?
Yes.
It was.
The real emotion in that show. That's why people loved your show, because it was real, it was authentic, it was raw. That's my opinion.
You know what? The raw, that's what people say. People like my show because it was raw.
Mm-hmm.
That's exactly what everybody says. And it's the truth, you know? We, nobody acts like that on TV. Nobody acts, it's kind of like, the first time I seen the show, I was like, I said to myself, that's impossible. It's impossible for somebody to show and never mind on Discovery, which is a completely ants and bugs and, animals, and then they got here's the Tuttle.
Animals.
Like,
yes, animals. Wow.
Well, they did get animals.
Yes, they did.
And you're heading into your 13th season with the show?
13? Is it 13 or 13? I think we did. We started in 202. Actually 201. We did a special, but I guess 13 seasons.
The longest running show on the Discovery Channel. Wow, that is really an amazing feat, given the current situation of broadcast television. They are, and not a lot of people know this, but Discovery Channel it's one of the harder places for me to sell. Like I look at them and I go, they have big shows, they have a lot of people watching. It's really hard to get something on the air over there, and to have the longest running show is really a huge accomplishment, given all the insanity that goes on with executives and whatnot. How do you do it?
That's a good question. You know what I think? I think that like from day one, we decided to be ourselves, and we are today too.
Mm-hmm.
So it's kind of like, what you get is what you see. So
right.
It's not like don't think it's not stressful. It is stressful, but we're not a scripted show. If we were a scripted show, I would have quit.
Mm-hmm. So they're not bothering you with fake fights and the rest of it, and.
No, because I won't do it.
So when you're doing a show like that, are you the guy who's saying, I've got this thing going on with a bike, or I've got this guy who wants a bike, Billy Joel wants a bike, I think that's an episode? Are you putting together the episodes yourself, or do you have a team that does that?
A team. We have a team that does that, yeah.
Wow. And what was it like making that transition from being like a custom bike builder to, really not just a TV star, but a TV producer? Because there's a lot of bullshit in television.
Can I curse?
Yeah,
sure,
of course.
Yeah. It was like, holy fuck. That's what it was like. It was like, yeah. Don't forget, we were like, we're regular blue collar guys.
Right.
Had a steel fabrication shop.
Yep.
Right. Just doing the things that normal blue collar guys do, working all the time. And then somebody said, go get me somebody on the East Coast, because they already did Jesse on the West Coast.
Right.
And they seen a picture of me. I just opened up a website like 3 days before, and they said, "This guy looks like a motorcycle guy. Give him a call." we'll do a 1 hour show on Laconia, and that'll be it. So the show went very well. But then when they started this series, we were overnight success. So here we are in a steel fabricating shop, and somebody just opened the dam, and it was like, oh my God, it was like hard. It was hard to adjust to, when you're a blue collar guy, you're working and you're just trying to make a good living and make some money, to like all of a sudden trying to figure out how to capture it all.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
Yeah. It's New York, Newburgh, New York.
That was harder to do than trying to make the money.
Right. Did you have people just start showing up? Like coming, knocking on your door, just going, "Hey, you're the guy on TV.
Hey, we want something from you. Hey, I got a great deal for you."
You have no idea. I mean, it was everybody and their brother. Everybody wanted to do it. We had 75 licensing deals, from doorknobs to Christmas balls.
Wow. Wait, why doorknobs? Orange County doorknobs?
Yep. Trailer hitches, Christmas bulbs, you name it, car mats.
Wow.
It was crazy. You know what I mean? It was like our show was so...
That's exciting.
Popular,
Well, but you're making money. I just put a new doorknob on my kitchen door yesterday, and I would have bought an Orange County Chopper doorknob if you had sold me one. What, did they have a special insignia on them or something? What makes an Orange County Chopper doorknob?
They just put our logo on it.
Oh, there you go. So your head. I would have done it.
Unbelievable.
This is quite a story, isn't it, Zuckerman?
Okay, if you could go back Would you do it all over again?
Yes.
I don't know. He has to answer.
Well, you know, you know what? I would, you know what I mean? Because I look at it as part of my history, you know what I'm saying? So, you know, if you had to do it all over again, just the experience alone, without all the insanity, I would do it.
But there was a lot of insanity, and I can understand that. It injected into your life so much uncertainty and craziness and pressure. I'm sure it's taken its toll in certain ways.
And you know, the other thing too, yes, it's definitely taken toll, especially, you know, when you're working with a family. And you know, the thing that I really kind of bothered me the most is they have 100% control over editing. So even if you were a good guy and you said the right things, they could change the words in your mouth. They could change everything. So, you know, and it's all about perception.
Right. Trying to create an alternative reality about who you and your family are to make it more watchable for people.
So here's a question. I just have a production question. So what the balance of your week? Like, are cameras rolling 5 or 6 days a week from beginning of the day to the end of the day, or did you guys have shoots kind of scheduled in the afternoon? How does it work? And how do you balance the real business of the shop versus the TV show?
That's a trick, you know. Well, it is a trick.
Yeah, it is, right.
You have to have, you know, more people doing that. But you know, the show is listen. If you're going to Europe, you're doing 7 days a week and 10, 12 hours a day. But generally, it's 5, 6 days a week you're filming. Right.
And then I would imagine you need to lock down the set. You can't have extraneous noise and other stuff. So does that mean, you know, you've got another building where the real work's going on, you know, as opposed to the TV show work?
Well, you know, that's a good question. But, no, we do it all in the same shop. And, and it is destructive. I mean, it is distractive.
Right. Yeah, and I imagine any one machine can screw up audio. All right, well, you have built bikes for a lot of very famous people, and they range from Muhammad Ali to David Letterman to Michael Strahan. Let me just throw out a couple of these names and tell me what they asked for. First of all, our friend Dave. What did Dave want from Orange County Choppers?
Dave who?
Dave Letterman.
Dave Letterman, I got to tell you something. Dave Letterman was the biggest fan, period. He had every merchandise he had, and he was so involved in the show, like he thought the show was really real. In other words, he would. When if we were fighting or something like that, he would get so upset. and we didn't build him a bike, but we always brought a bike to his show, and he would always ride it. And we were on his show, I think, 13 times.
Yeah. That's hilarious. That sounds like Dave, right?
Fantastic.
Sure. You know Paul when you're fighting with your son.
Crazy, right?
Yeah. Michael Strahan. Another guy I don't associate with these types of bikes. What was he interested in?
He was interested in just something that represented the Giants. You know?
So, how did you address that bike? What do you mean? You put that on the tank, the Giants?
Yeah, we did the gas tank that looked like, you know, we did the sissy bar look like a field goal.
That's
we
hilarious.
used for the headlight, we used like a helmet to cover the headlight.
Come on.
Fantastic.
Does he still have that bike?
Yeah, I believe he does.
Wow. Okay, I want to keep asking about it. Here's another guy, Bill Murray. Like, I've been around Bill Murray. He doesn't strike me as the type of guy that would get on a motorcycle.
I think Bill did ride motorcycles.
When he was younger.
I don't think he made it a practice. But I can tell you one thing. Every time anybody says, who's your favorite, I always say Bill Murray.
Okay, why?
Because he was really real, and he's as funny in person as he is on TV.
Mm-hmm.
Great time. We had a great time with him.
Wow. It's amazing.
Look at all the places Paul's gone. I mean, it's really this this idea that you get your website, probably your first website, you're up for 3 days, and bam, this hits you. It's is it dumb luck? It's just so it's a crazy story.
Jimmy Kimmel, Good Morning America, David Letterman, Jay Leno, Celebrity Apprentice. You know, that's just a few of the places that he's stopped with his motorcycle shops there, and he's building bikes for Muhammad Ali. Shaq. Did you have to build a giant motorcycle for Shaq? Does he fit on an ordinary motorcycle?
No, we had to build a big bike.
What do you do in that case? Do they make a
stretch a frame?
Like, is there a big and tall men's motorcycle shop where they have bigger frames and tires?
We had to build a special frame because he's so tall.
Right.
And what he wanted to fit in that bike so when you looked at him, he looked like a normal sized person. So the bike had to fit him that way.
Can you imagine what that looks like? I can't
imagine how long it was.
I couldn't even move it. You couldn't reach the pedals.
That's hilarious. All right, let's talk about this podcast. It's called Behind the Scenes at Orange County Choppers, OCC's Untold Stories, and now Parked in Podcasts. How long have you had the podcast now?
The podcast, I don't know. I think it went live like a couple weeks ago, but we've been shooting it for 3 months.
Wow. And how do you like it? I mean, do you like the experience of just being on a mic as opposed to doing a TV show?
No, I love it because, we have Joni Kay, who's the CEO, and then I have my fabricator on there, and then I have Jason Poole, who does our designing. And these guys everybody there, so everybody gets really involved. And, the thing of it is we don't go in there saying, okay, this is what we're going to talk about. We just like freelance it. So when we go in there, whatever comes up. And, my background, I mean, people really don't know a lot about me at all. So it's interesting. I'm sure that they find it interesting that, some of the things that I've done in my life, which are pretty great.
Right. Yeah. Podcasting is almost a confessional, right? It's where people are a little more open than they normally are on television. You sound like a guy who really cares about how he's portrayed outside of the TV show. Like that the idea that this network edits your shows and you have no say in that. This is an opportunity, this podcast, to really communicate who you are.
1,000%.
Yeah.
1,000%.
I like that.
I think that, I think for a while there, they try to really make me look like the bad guy. And it really kind of tarnished my name, So it took me actually years to kind of correct that.
Mm-hmm.
Because, again, it's perception, and people see you a certain way, and, like, in that light, and I'm not that person at all.
Right, right. You are involved in a lot of different charities, Make-A-Wish, St. Jude's Hospital, the Boys and Girls Club of America. We can tell just by the way you communicate. You're a decent, God-fearing man, a good person, a contributor to society. And, that's just a character on TV you're playing. This version of yourself, right?
That's like me.
Like you. Zuckerman, you are that guy. You're communicating now and always on what the editors at Discovery are communicating for him. But that's just you naturally, and that's okay. That's okay.
You love making me a caricature of myself. And I have to say, I am a co-conspirator. I'm a caricature. I am a willing participant in this caricature.
Well, we all like the bad guy. You're a likable bad guy. Everybody likes likable bad guys. We all want to be the likable bad guy.
Yeah, I mean, I think that I have that image for sure. But, the real me is really a good guy, you know what I mean? And we're really involved in animal rescue, all kinds of, Make-A-Wish. We were Make-A-Wish of the Year, and I think 2005 we were picked over Disney.
Wow,
I love that.
So wait, they have their own award ceremony at Make-A-Wish?
Yes. Yeah.
Well, that's a weird event. So wait, so you go to a place, is it like the Emmys or something? And it's
it was in California. You know what I mean? It was kind of like a big auditorium, and you know,
Wow.
yeah, no, it was
Wild.
It was really cool. It was really cool, you know.
Yeah. Well, congratulations on that, and congratulations on the podcast, Behind the Scenes at OCC, and we get it here at Podcast One and anywhere else where you get your podcasts. And you're going to get to see the real Paul Teutul Sr., not the one portrayed by the hit Discovery show. That's the longest-running show in Discovery history, making everybody billions of dollars, Zuckerman. Billions and billions and
Swiggins.
billions. Yes, Swiggins.
Swiggins, I'll see you at the club.
It's been a good year, the Swiggins.
I took a shellacking in capital gains.
You should see my OCC stock. It's through the roof. It's a pleasure meeting you, sir. When you get to L.A., will you please come in the studio and hang with us?
I'd love to.
We'd love to have you.
And I appreciate your time.
All right. Thanks, Paul. Take care. All right, Zuckerman, that's it.
I love that guy.
Another show. Yeah, we got to have him in. He's a great guy, huh?
Yeah.
I love when, it's just the idea that he's putting together the shoot and then Discovery's just going to, they have to do that because that's what makes people watch the show. But then, you're walking down the sidewalk and people...
They're spitting on you, you fucking asshole. You.
They do that.
It's like, wait, I'm a good guy.
They do that. They
Yeah,
do. Larry David, he tells the story of, you're such an asshole. Or it was Piven, right?
Yes.
Ari Emanuel was saying, you're an asshole, and I'm an asshole like you. And he's like, what do you mean? That's a character on TV. That's not me.
Right.
But whatever. You got your own show. You can't complain. Anyway, it's been a lot of fun hanging out with you all. We'll see you next week, unless you have something else to add.
I got to make some money.
Go make some money. And we'll see you next week on Spike's Car Radio.
Thanks for listening to Spike's Car Radio. Download new episodes every Wednesday on the Podcast One app, or subscribe now at Apple Podcasts or PodcastOne.com.
Hey guys, if you like my show, you're going to love the official Lakers podcast on Podcast One. Join host Mike Trudell and co-host Aaron Larsoul every Monday night as they discuss the Lakers news of the day, break down the games from the week, and have exclusive interviews from players, coaches, and staff. So don't miss the official Lakers podcast every week on Apple Podcasts and Podcast One.
Hey guys, time to get in on the action for the biggest moments in basketball with Prize Picks, America's #1 fantasy sports app. Just select 2 or more players, pick more or less on their projections, place your entry, and win up to 100 times your money. Right now, Prize Picks will match your first deposit of up to $100. Just download the Prize Picks app and use the code GET100. That's code GET100 on Prize Picks for a first deposit match of up to $100. Prize Picks. Pick more. Pick less. It's that easy.